Welcome to the Starting Over Podcast. I'm your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is the show where we look at the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. Sorry, it's been about a month. Complications, people. I apologize. Oh man, I was initially trying to get the whole. Dang it! I was renaming Hardcore Casual to Deconstructed Fun, but that I sort of lost track of that. Had an evening in which I just fell asleep. I was just dog tired, and then last week I was pretty much dog tired too. But I'm doing the stream just pretty much to make content that like maybe 3 people will notice that I'm streaming. But yeah. Oh man. Okay, so today's episode, we're going to go back to topography. I am going to try to be holding back on doing some actual proper starting over podcast episodes, mainly because I'm approaching 250 and I sort of want that to be cool. So if you have any ideas on what I should do on episode 250, email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. All right, so let's sort of get started. We're going to be looking at maps today, of course, and the first map we're pretty much going to be looking at the Avengers Infinity War maps and looking at the implications of them in the game as of right now. Now, I know some folks will say, look, these maps are okay. They're not rainbow magic, they're just okay. And typically, I would agree with most people. But as we see on Halfworld here, and then eventually in the Galador Promenade, that these maps have a place. They have a distinct place for the current environment. And I think us being aware of that and what that place is will be very, very, very important. All right, so real quick, this is a little shout out. If you are looking for a great rock tournament to go to this weekend, because I am actually going to try to upload this right after I finish recording, head down to Tulsa. To Dice Addiction for their mega qualifier. Yeah, there's always space to come and play. So I will be there. A couple other members of Phoenix Nest will be there. My co-captain Wes Griffin will be there. So yeah, if you want to just say hi to me or visit the store or play a good game of heroclix, come on by. I'm going to have a couple of teammates that are driving in, and I feel great. And the main reason I feel great is because I'll be handing them their jerseys and for the team, and so I feel good. I feel like a mighty leader and warrior. Leader, warrior, king. My name is Zeno. There you go. All right. Enough 90s jokes. Let's get crack-a-lackin'. All right, so there we go. So first off, we're going to look at the top of the key, and then we're going to look at the of Halfworld. Then we're going to look at the bottom of the key. Now, first off, we need to remember is this has special terrain rules. So you see these orange squares here? These orange squares are blocking terrain that cannot be destroyed. Okay, so you cannot ego prime this, which is really important. It's more important than you think. And so since you can't destroy this, it creates I would say a facsimile of depth, and there actually the map for any non-flyers is functionally cut in half. Now we'll break that down here in just a sec. But yeah, let's start with the top key, then we're going to look at the bottom of the key, and then break down the map overall. So if we look at the top of the key, from the starting area position, we have an extended starting area, which is good if you're using Pip the Troll or Doctor Strange, shifting focus Doctor Strange, or any sort of flyer or just ignores everything type character that's carrying your team. So that's good overall. When you get your Quinjet, sorry, not your Quinjet, when you get your Blackbird in the future here, just go ahead and bring it on along. It'll for a good old time. Okay. Next thing that we're going to notice is, since we have that extended starting area, unfortunately, this area right in here, that right there, that's just elevation 2. Okay, so you're not really able to TK off of this. And if you do TK, you're TKing here, and you're TKing here. The only reason you would TK over to the left is if you're trying to get some sort of defensive position. But overall, yeah, this is bad. That's the only places where you're really TKing to. So it really limits your deployment, definitely when it comes to TK. And then whoever you TK has to be able to navigate and ignore terrain, because you got water right in here, you got your blocking terrain down there, and you got some hindering right and all through there. So coming downfield this way, it's just a big mess. So just keep that in mind as we keep going. Now, I did forget to put this on map layer. There we go. All right, bam. All right. Boop. Yep. All right. So yeah, I have to make sure that everything is on the right layer, because now this happened. Okay, map background. All right, so we're going to temporarily. Yep, there we go. All right. Now I'm gonna have everything right. All right, so boom, we're back on proper layer now. Okay, so approaching downfield is a bit of a hassle. Now there's another problem, which is we have an area here. So we're just gonna circle here, where if you don't have any flyers on the map, this area is like perfect for barrier, because you just have to tie up this little area in here, and your opponent really can't do much about that. And it can be really, really frustrating. Definitely if you have effects that do not require line of fire. Definitely if you know, in Golden Age, if you have Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy, or is it Guardians of the Galaxy or Galactic Guardians? I think it's Guardians of the Galaxy. That Yondu is actually pretty good. So yeah, let's keep on going here. What other spots do we notice? We have this here, this area here. I personally think that that's just a good place to set up. Now, if you don't have flyers, you're not going to be able to hop, skip, and a jump over here. But you are sort of able to play this dance where you could tell your opponent, like, look, if you come at me, I'm either going to go over here or I'm going to loop around and go over here. And if your opponent plays it wrong, you could potentially like just pincer your opponent like so. So you have one guy come in this way, and then the other guy or other people come in that way, and boom, now you have a pincer attack. It's even worse. It's really worse. Diamond freehand. Yeah, it's even worse if it happens in here, in this little area here, because if it happens in that little area there's no way for them to escape, and that's a problem. Definitely, like I said, if they do not fly. So you might be asking yourself, Edward, you're talking a lot about not flying. Why? Why not flying? It's truthfully, a lot of the advantages of this comes in is that your opponent can't just easily blow up these yellow squares and create an exit. So creating situations where non-flyers just can't get out and are contained is really good. But since it is an outdoor map, your opponent can easily just be like, all right, I'm going to up and away. And the problem comes back is if you don't fly on this map or have improved movement, ignores blocking, ignores elevated, ignores hindering, you're spending 4 to 5 more squares trying to reach a destination that would normally cost you, 2. And so that's a huge problem. You're expending a lot more energy than your opponent. So this technically is what I like to call a trap map. It's a trap map. And the main goal is for you to set up traps for your opponents using your figures, and that's your main goal. Whether it's with barrier or smoke cloud, stopping them from escaping real easily, you're setting up traps, and there's nothing that they can do about it. All right, so let's look at the bottom of the key. And unfortunately, I know this sounds weird. The map actually, in all reality, is not cut in half this way, but it's actually cut in half this way, diagonally. And you could tell that by looking at the actual diagonal of the unbreakable blocking terrain, but you're also looking at the starting areas being on opposite corners, and so the closest way of actually getting to one another is to draw a diagonal line that way. So your halfway mark is a lot different because, again, you're going to, if you're either player, you're going to spend a lot more money. I mean, sorry, not a lot more money. A lot more time and energy getting to A1 or P24 than you would on average. Okay. All right. Now, let's sort of go back. Let's look at the bottom of the map. The bottom of the map does not have as much blocking terrain. What it does have is more hindering terrain. So if your opponent picks this and you're more stealth based, then yeah, you want to make sure that you have the bottom of the key, which has the most amount of hindering terrain. The problem is there isn't a lot of it together. And since there isn't a lot of it together, you can't do massive stealth formations. So what you're mainly looking at is maybe 1 or 2 figures max that are going to be utilizing stealth or primarily need hindering terrain or printed hindering terrain for its effects. Now, I will say this. Having this little hook area here gives you a nice shooting platform into the middle of the map. Okay? And you should be able to easily get to that. The problem is this position here for your opponent. Now, if you're whoever locks down either what I will call A or the B position first is going to dominate the center of the map and is going to dominate elevation 2. Okay, whoever can solidify that position the best is going to, yeah, pretty much dominate a lot of open airspace. So you might want to actually consider teams that utilize taking advantage of range and locking down elevation. But again, like I said, you're going to have this problem that if you have characters that don't fly, navigating this map is going to be ridiculously hard. Alright, so I'm going to try to go to my channel here. Alright, Infinite's me. Alright, there we go. Alright, so there's no questions. Alright, great. And there's no people watching either. Yay. Alright, so next we can see is we have this bottom area down here. Now, this bottom area down here, I would more argue it's not as good as this area right here up top. And the main reason I say it's not as good is that if this little area down here this little area where I'm drawing this line, was just gone. Just gone. You would have a very, very, very safe means of transition from your starting area to that area there and then up. But since that's elevation 2, that area is really exposed, and the map forces you to come out forward when you may not really want to come out forward too much. And I think that's a slight problem. I don't think it's a bad thing from a game design perspective. I do think it adds more risk and doesn't make the bottom of the key that much more superior because of this landing area here. But it does create a problem, like I said, in terms of safely initiating. Yeah, it really does create a problem, because if you can safely get from down here over into there, then yeah, you can just like running shot up onto this elevation 2, and you can bombard the 2 main positions at the top of the key. Okay. But see, if you look at the top of the key can just go back behind here, and then they have to use a lot of energy once they turn that corner to get to here. It's a lot of energy, and it's not safe. Okay, it's really not a safe route. So, as I make a mess, so what it makes more sense if you were trying to get to a place where you could bombard an elevation 2 from safety, it makes more sense for both players to try to navigate this area around in here. Okay, let's keep going. Now, there's one element I really haven't touched on too much, and that's the water terrain. And the main reason I haven't really touched on the water terrain that much is that the water terrain is in the center of the map. It's not a dominant feature, but it is something, again, to indicate, look, man, if you don't fly or ignore hindering, you got to take the long way. And this artificial block makes it so that either side has to be careful in how they place and leave behind or try to keep safe their non-flyers. Because again, if you want them useful, you can put them on elevation 2. If you put them on elevation 2, they can be easily shot by a character that has running shot and ignores elevation. If you're dealing with characters that have improved movement, destroys blocking, they can easily, let's just say, be right here, or right there, right in there. Yeah, I think those are our main spots, because everything else is going to have you go through the undestructible blocking. But yeah, you can post up in those areas and then just promptly attack in this general facility, and there's nothing that your opponent can really do to stop you. And I think that's a really big deal. But other than that, this water here is huge. It's really a big deal, and like I said, the main thing is that it keeps your non-flyers separated by a steady landmass. And yeah, so let's ask ourselves some questions. Okay, so question number 1: what type of team actually does well here? And what I would argue is that a team that, for all intents and purposes, is a melee colossal team. So if you're able to get Giant Reach 3, you're able to just reach over and just be like, boom, I'm going to punch you. I'm going to navigate through, and that's it. It's done. And because you ignore outdoor blocking for movement, you can just get wherever you want to go. You could punch characters on elevation 2. You could punch characters on elevation 1. As long as you can just draw a line of fire to a character for most of the map, you can shoot them. So that's why I really do think that this map is designed specifically for colossals and giant-sized characters. At the other end, I would also say a flying hypersonic speed character has a lot of distinct advantages in this map because A, if played correctly, you can have character, let's just say character triangle. That's my triangle. Character triangle man. He's right here. And then you can put character B and character C right there. So we got triangle, B, and C. Alright. Triangle man can just hypersonic speed fly and cover all this ground and get back to that square. And there is very little that you can do to punish him. Why? He has a good amount of natural barriers. He has 1, 2, 3, 4 squares of indestructible blocking right there. Okay, 1, 2, 3 squares of normal blocking below him, 1 square blocking above him, and he has 2 characters obstructing you from getting adjacent to him. So unless you have a range character, the only way to attack him is from right here. That's very, very limiting. And if you come anywhere, and to get there, unless you have a hyper taxi and a character that can act after taxi, Triangle Man is going to intercept you and be really annoying for you trying to get to that square. Alright, so you can start to see the problems that pop up. Now I know some of you can say is like, but Dark Logos, can I do the inverse on the other side? You sort of can. So you can put, I'm just gonna put triangles. You can, and yeah, triangles there. Do it there. And here you need B, C, and D. But you can do it there too. And yeah, you can't do it here. You're too exposed. You're too exposed from multiple too many things. And you can head there. You can do it here. Yeah, and I think that's it. Those are your spaces that you can functionally just do that hypersonic speed yo-yo trick and functionally not be attacked back by standard characters. And again, like I said, the biggest ones that have the greatest amount of advantage on this map are the Colossals. Yep. All right. Thank you for person who's tuned in. I appreciate you watching. All right, so let's take a step back, and overall, I would say I would rate this map right here on average. I would give it a 6 out of 10. Now, I know some of you would say is like, why would you give it such a mediocre score? Because I feel, and this is it, because this team does not tactically give either side a direct reason to play it, very few people will play it. While the indestructible blocking is nice, this map would be like 20 times stronger if it was indoors. If this was an indoor map, this map would easily be an 8 out of 10. All the way up to a 9 out of 10. People would play this. But because it is the way it is, and that this is an outdoor map that primarily favors towards Colossals, having giant reach and doing giant reach attacks, I don't see this as the play. Definitely, if you're running multiple Colossals and you're trying to keep them safe, you're not running this. The only team that I can sort of think of is a team that wants to get to you quickly using a hyper taxi. Whether it's Lil Cheney, Overdrive, Pip the Troll, Doctor Strange, whoever it may be, they're looking to just bum rush you like super fast and get to you with the quickness. So just sort of emphasizes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, 16 squares. 16, 17 squares on average between the two starting areas. That's better than the average map that is 20 squares in between starting areas. So, yeah, you're looking with a Sam Cap being able to reach most people's starting areas. You know, if they have a decent enough movement. So, like I said, I give this a 6 out of 10. Could it be better? Yes. If it was an indoor map, more people would use it. Other than that, I think this is fun. Now, the question comes in is, what type of skill set is going to maximize this map? And I would argue is a character that has to be next to blocking terrain to get an effect that's stupid. That's why I would say you would want this. If you're able to have a character where it's just like, you take 1 damage if you're next to blocking terrain, and you're a colossal and you get giant reach 4 because you have, you know, a super staff or something. Whatever, man. Then this is the map for you. I would argue is this map becomes a 10 out of 10 or even a 9 out of 10 if you need blocking terrain that's not destroyed for some other additional effect. All right, so let's go to our map layer, get rid of this map, and let's look at our second map. And our second map. I need a nap, man. Side note, Dark Logo story time. So I was going to bed, and I was like, man, I'm tired, but I want to make sure like I'm out because, you know, work in the morning, all that jazz. And I ended up taking like 2 melatonin. And I normally, 1.5 melatonin. I normally take 1, and I woke up and I was fine and whatnot, but like throughout the day, I just wanted to go to sleep. I'm one of those people that's like, you could call me like ultra straight edge. I really don't drink caffeine. I really don't. My biggest flaw is sugar, which is just as bad as being an alcoholic. Yeah, like a lot of people don't tell you what sugar does to your liver, but anyway, I was tired today, and so after a multitude of naps, I'm functional, but man, I still want to go to sleep. All right, now that we're set up, see, that's like professional broadcasting right there. Getting things set up, downtime, entertain you with the story. Then when it's ready to go, you're like, man, I want to hear more stories from Mr. Edward Shelton. All right, so, boom. All right, let's look at the Promenade. Now, I know some of you will say, Dark Logos, why is this map even on anyone's radar other than the fact that it's new? And I would say is, well, there are a couple of key elements that makes this map really, really scary. Now, I want to show everyone something here. Now, this is your little line of fire tool thing that you have. And it says feet, but just ignore that for right now. All right. Here to here. And I know, and then I'm going to do like this. I'm going to say here to here, here to here. What am I measuring? Or what am I pointing out? Now, if you watched this episode before, you're cheating. Okay? But if not, I'm going to give you a moment. Just think about it. What am I showing? Give you a little bit more time. All right. What I'm showing you is there is nothing obstructing a colossal from drawing a line of fire to you. Now, in range is another thing, but drawing line of fire is another thing. This is Chameleon's worst nightmare. if he doesn't have colossals, because he can't transform. And that's one thing we don't really talk about in the too much, is that you have a infinite line of fire. You do not have an infinite range. You have an infinite line of fire, but you do not have an infinite range. Now, here's where we start to look at, because we don't have anywhere to hide our colossals, and we have all these areas of elevations. This is, I would darn near say, a almost perfect Giant Girl map. Definitely for Giant Girl Swarm. So let's get some Giant Girls out here. All right. And there. All right, there we go. So I'm gonna, yeah. Hold up. I gotta go and I gotta change the settings on this page, because there's a way to get rid of the grid, and my boys showed me how to do it, and now it's like, I bet somebody's like, it's right there, it's right there, and I'm like, yeah, colors, forward. All right. Well, let's just say for right now, I can't find it. Yep. So we'll just say for right now I can't find it. All right. So let's start. Let's start copying our Giant Girl, shall we? Hit the cloning facility. Okay. Boom. So many Giant Girls. So little time. Alright, so as we start to arrange our Giant Girls, you're going to notice something. And that something is, I can put them on multiple levels of elevation. Yep. It's nothing stopping me from doing that. Because the rules now state that, yeah, colossal, pretty much any multi-base figure can be on multiple levels of elevation if it's either a giant, colossal, or flies. So Ghost Rider cannot be on multiple levels of elevation because he does not fly. But Valkyrie, because she does fly, can be on multiple levels of elevation. So does, I think, Black Knight flies too. Yeah, Black Knight. He flies, so he can be on multiple levels of elevation. Alright. So, I'll put you in there too. There we go. Alright, so here is my Giant Girl army with my one Fast Forces Giant Girl. So, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 230 points of Giant Girls. Okay, I'm playing them all at 10 points. But let's just say, for sake of argument, this magically is 300 points. Good luck getting map. You're not going to. Okay. Now, I know some of you would say, like, doop-de-doo, I would make half of them the Colossal Retails. And I wouldn't, because that would be bad for multiple reasons. But anyway, so here we go. Now, all the starting areas are pushed up. And I know I am jumping ahead of myself. I'm talking about a tactic before actually breaking down the map. But these Giant Girls can just be like, all right, they move up 10, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. Bloop. 10. 10. All right, well, 10. Somewhere around there is 10. So, because I can't get it to line up properly because of the grid. All right, so, boom. So then they all start running down to the ground to get out of the rain. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so let's just say I won't be able to move that many. I'm able to move 3 because I don't have leadership. Boom. I got 3. They moved up. Okay. Now, here's the issue. Let's just say I had enough actions, and I had 4 actions, so I can get that 4th one down there. These 4 giant girls are brave souls that are going to go out there to more than likely just die. But guess what? These giant girls at the same time can pretty much just go wherever they want. They can go where they please. And since they can go where they please, there's really not much obstructing them from punching. Now, let's just say my opponent is silly and they're still trying to set up. And they're like, they're just some giant girls. Why do I care? The giant girls can easily just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right in this area here. And we'll just say, because again, the grid, and I apologize, in this area here, and they just made this death zone, and it's a death zone that says if you come out your starting area by 2 or more squares, I'm going to punch you in the face with a giant girl. Oh, are you going to shoot us? Cool. A quarter of these giant girls up at the top are colossal retails. So I'm going to throw probably 3 or 4 out at you. And when that happens, and I land a hit, I'm going to move every single one of these giant girls. And I'm going to be able to move them all for free. And I'm going to move the free ones back, hide behind the uncommon ones. And we're going to start this party again. So, now I know some of you would say, Dark Lucas, that's sort of stupid. Who would do that? And I would say, I don't know. Daniel Powell's been talking about playing a bunch of giant girls, so there's bound to be somebody out there that's not him to be like, I got friends and bad luck. I have 20 giant girls. All I got was primarily giant girls from my cases. And I got Living Tribunal. That's got to be somebody. It's like they got Buggy's Living Tribunal and giant girls. That's all their colossals. I don't wish that curse on anyone. I really don't. But good gosh, that would suck. That would suck really bad. All right, so let's keep going. Now, we have this new complication with this map. Since giants can go functionally anywhere, that means having a giant fight on this map, or a colossal fight, is inevitable. And colossals with range are better than ones that don't. And you're better off playing colossals that have multiple clicks instead of just a bunch of retaliators like I sort of just displayed. But, and it's a huge but that you may or may not like. And it's this. With the elevation changes, this map is rather difficult on anybody that's not a flyer. So let's just say that you have improved targeting, ignores hindering, and that's it. The center of the map just stops you from being TK'd out and running shotting somebody. Because unless you're getting a mega TK and you fly, you have a huge range and a huge movement, you're not hitting anything. You're going to be stuck. The elevation change is going to be a natural barrier to you. Okay, even if you were able to, let's just say, get TK'd out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're right here once you get TK'd. Then you run a shot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5 here. Okay, great. You can see elevation 2. All that lovely elevation 2. That's great. Your opponent's down here in elevation 1. You can't see diddly. Okay? So this map comes says to teams that rely on the TK, I'm going to shoot you from, my starting area, launch this pillar from orbit type teams, says screw you. You're stuck. And it's frustrating. Now, I know some people will say it's like, but Dark Logos, why, again, I don't get it. You know, how am I going to integrate a team using this build? Well, let's break it down, and let's break it down. So we're going to look at the top of the key, then we're going to look at the bottom of the key, and then we're going to say, like, yo, man, this is why things are the way it is, and why things don't change when it comes to heroclix. Alright, so your starting areas are standard starting areas, and you can choose to start on elevation 2 or on elevation 1. I would recommend you, on 9 times out of 10, start on elevation 1. This stops you from being shot. Just pure and simple. This stops you from being shot. So be on elevation 1. If you don't want to listen to me and you just want to, you know, have straight roads all the way in and start trying to make shots or whatever, go on elevation 2. It's completely fine. It's your prerogative. Dude, I'm not even being subtle with the song references anymore. That's just bad. I need to up my game. All right, so I was about to make a Hammer Time joke. Okay, all right. So here's the thing. Now we could say like, oh look, hey, Dark Logos, these starting areas are asymmetrical. Not really. They're close. They're very close to being asymmetrical, but they're not quite asymmetrical. There's just a couple few points that are off, but they're not enough to. I mean, sorry. The map is not symmetrical completely, but it's symmetrical enough so that it does, the differences don't matter. Whereas where it does matter that it's symmetrical is the elevation shifts. Where it doesn't matter is the hindering terrain. There is, you know, there's no blocking, there's no water, and there's no walls. So there's no place to hide. Stealth is a paper thin defense. And it's been a paper thin defense for over 5 years now. It's either it's great and there's nothing your opponent can do about it, or it's horrible and everyone can see through it, and you pay points for something that's worthless. Okay, so when we looked at our deploy, like I said, this is safe. This is not safe. Safe, not safe. This is aggressive. Okay, these circles here. These are aggressive with the A. Okay, and then I could just be more like that, and that's defensive with the D. Alright. Alright, bam. So you have your choice early on. But I gotta be honest, if you pick this map, you are trying to hurt your opponent's range by using elevation shifts, and you need to be able to ignore either elevation shifts yourself or have some sort of improved targeting ignores elevation, which means more than likely you're playing green arrow. Okay, you want clean shots for your green arrow. I know some people will say, like, but what about the unseen? Unseen don't do damage, man. Nobody cares about him right now. Nobody cares about the unseen. Nobody cares about freaking alien Nick Fury. Nobody cares. And now I just turned into a heroclix meme. Alright, so going back. Where is the point of collision going to happen? Well, clearly the map designer said the point of collision is going to be here. Because you're going to have to come over and fight, or you're going to fight around here. And not for your right to party. Unless it actually is a heroclix party, then you actually are fighting for your right to party. Okay, but since that range is so narrow, why are colossals the great hotness? So let's bring out our colossal again. The colossal can be anywhere on the elevation shift, and then just make its attack. It'd be like, oh, I'm here, boom, I'm gonna punch a guy that's right here because I can. Okay, okay, I'm gonna move I'm going to move here. And then I'm going to punch a guy right there. Because I can. And that's the thing about the giant reach that makes this map so stupid. Is that your Colossals can just navigate up and down, left and right. And just do their attacks. And so, like, I'll just sort of put this in the charge perspective. Going after that last target. The Colossal starts here. The target is there. Okay, now the two can technically see each other because, and just making it clear, the two can see each other because all Colossals have improved targeting, ignores elevated, and gives improved targeting, ignores elevated to them, to any character that can draw line of fire to them. Okay. So, let's just say this character down here does not have a huge range. It doesn't have any running shot or charge or anything. Or it just moved up. This position here with the giant girl is extremely safe. It's extremely safe. There's no risk. Okay? So, charging there to make that close combat attack here is really good. Alright? Now, let's just say, some time progresses, and let's just say I'm going to get my good friend and other Ant-Man inspired character who won't resize Yellow Jacket. Okay. Let's just say, for argument's sake, Yellow Jacket is standard size and is 1 square instead of giant and blown up. Alright, I now have a mega taxi to move around and get my my other character just sort of down and body blocked. So I can do all sorts of stuff where it's like, hey, look, you can't shoot Yellow Jacket unless you kill my Wasp. And that's fine. My Yellow Jacket is going to do whatever he's going to do on the next turn anyway. Alright. But now you can't get him because I body blocked him. Or you can't line a fire to him to outwit his special power or whatever. Okay, so navigation on this map is not super difficult. But again, you need flyers. Characters ignore elevation. You preferably want to be in a situation. Yeah, as I try to get some decent posture. You preferably want to be in a situation where you're navigating back and forth across that elevation 3. But if you can't easily go up and down that elevation 3, you preferably want to make the fight to be around the elevation 3. You do not want your opponent going down into elevation 1 and making the fight bounce between elevation 1 and elevation 3. Because if you can't navigate elevation easily and your opponent can, they can easily just sort of say, can't touch this. Oh, man. I thought of it and it just came out my mouth. Okay, it just came out my mouth. I didn't even plan that. Oh. Yeah, so you can't touch this. And I probably lost my 1 viewer over that joke. Nope. Okay, they're still there. Hope you're having fun, 1 viewer. Okay, or if it's Twitch showing pity upon me. Thank you for showing pity upon me, Twitch. So, anyway, what we can see, functionally like moving around and such, is that giants on this map are stupid. They're just ridiculously good. Now, of course, if your colossal or giant needs like water or blocking or whatever else, then I'm sorry, this is not the map for you. But for pretty much all the other giants and colossals, they are going to rule the roost on this map. There's 2 colossals that I like, and not played on their colossal retaliation either for this map. Number 1 is Sooter, and I don't have an actual. I don't have an actual picture of him. Actually, I don't know if I. No, I do have Ymir. Okay. And the second one's Ymir. Now, I know some people might say, what does fire and ice have to do with this? The fact that these two characters have really good ranges, and if you play them on their 150 dials, they can be not that far from their starting area and just say, the moment that you come up, I'm going to bombard you with one of my cannons. And yes, you can see me and I can see you, but the trick is you can't see my support, and I can see all of your support. So I'm going to be healing up, getting my back, my ice back massage, getting hot rock treatments, you know, foot pedicures and stuff, you know, ready to go before, you know, I throw my next fireball or ice blast. And there's just going to be attrition going on the other side of the map. So I think that's a huge thing to keep in mind, that a early aggressive placement, you know, with Sutter or with Ymir, you could just tell your opponent, like, look, I don't care what you do. I'm going to blast you for 6 or 7 damage, and you're going to like it. And you're going to try to hurt me, but I'm just going to keep Colossal blasting you. And I'm going to get massaged back up. And don't forget about these silos of the 3 Fast Forces Giant Girls I have back here, and my Groot, and whatever else I have. Like, that's a legit issue. It's a legit issue that we have to actually face now. The other thing I think in particular that's important about this map is, one, this map really hoses the boxing ring. It's really not a place to play it. There's really not a place to put it down. The next thing that it does, it says, I'm running Colossals, and while this is an open map, and in a Colossal on Colossal fight, that hurts, Hawkeye can't do diddly. Okay, he's gonna have a lot of problems. Okay, trying to get line of fire to who he needs to, because the moment that Hawkeye, you know, crosses the grand line, so right in there, he's going to get shot. You know, he's going to have to get body blocked by a bunch of giant girls, and that attrition will eventually catch up. But then Hawkeye, if Hawkeye tries to run up here and tries to take shots, he's still limited because he can't, like your standard characters that are down here, he can't draw line of fire to. And if you have like a Colossal here and a Colossal over there, now he's in trouble because there's no way for him to walk down, let's just say take a shot here, down here, then take a shot there, over some more, take a shot here, and then magically get up and then take a shot and then not get killed. Like he's dead. He's dead. Like that's the problem. Even if he could take a bunch of shots, he's still going to be he's dead afterward. Like he can't kill everything. So I don't. Let me try to better clarify this. I don't think this is a completely Hawkeye proof, but I do think that this is going to be a rough situation for Hawkeye to try to navigate with the Avengers theme team. So, who would I recommend this map the most for? Again, if you're playing Colossals past the Colossal Retaliation point and they have some level of range, I would like it. I would pick this map if you're playing a ton of giant girls and like Wasp part of the Avengers. I would pick this map. I would also pick this map if you're running Shredders. And I know some of you are like, what? Why? Because there's nothing obstructing you. Like, you could just fully get in there and be like, meh, I'm here. Didn't have to use a lot of effort, but I'm here. So, that is a element, excuse me, that is a element that is present. Now, I know some people would say, it's like, well, wouldn't you like WizKid's Office a little bit better? And wouldn't WizKid's Office serve more of fix most of your problems if you're running Shredders? And I would argue, depends on what type of Shredder build you're running. If your goal is to try to keep Peace Machine safe the entire time, then yeah, you're going to have a bit of a problem with this map. But if your goal is just to be, screw it, I'm in their face now, this is going to be a better map. And definitely, and I mainly say this, is everything changed with freaking Pip the Troll. Everything changed with Pip the Troll. Pip the Troll made it so that shredders can run whatever other shredder they want in Mini and not worry about elevation, period. You kill Pip, your claw shredder or your whatever shredder you pick now has phasing. They're going to get to wherever they want to be. And then once they get there, they're going to ping you for 4 damage, and have Mini sidestep in and do it. And then they're going to try to sidestep out and hit something else. I mean, that's pretty much how it's going to go. So to pretend that shredders are going to have this grand problem with elevation change, they don't. Now, where shredders have a grand problem with elevation change is if you have the ability to ignore elevation and are able to create, like, and go first. And you pick this map and saying, like, I got green arrow, screw you. I am going to bust a cap into somebody, and it's going to hurt. Okay? And then I'm going to protect that character, surround them in barrier or whatever else. And then you're going to come and try to hunt down the rest of my crew. It doesn't matter. I'm going to punish you. And so I think there's a lot there. I also think there's a good place. There's a really good place for us to start talking about shredders with Colossal Retail. And I know someone's going to say, like, well, do the shredders have that much points to really do that? And I would say, like, it changes how the matchup is. And it makes the shredder teams a lot more aggressive. But at the other end, you're able to generate more damage per turn instead of just this plink 1-2, maybe get lucky here and there for some more damage. In this situation, you just be able to say, like, I'm on top of you. And now I Colossal Retaliate you with Sutter, or I Colossal Retaliate you with Groot. And now I hit with Groot. So, okay, cool. Now I'm going to drop these, I'm going to drop a Flurry Pog. Now the Flurry Pog goes off. You know, that can be game changing. It's, you know, it's a tie-up Flurry Pog. Or you could have Carnage, and Carnage drops a Symbio, and it's like, oh, well, you're tied up. Not much for you to do there. Okay, so there's a lot of elements where I feel like we could go back and forth and play with it and start looking at shredders. And I think this map actually helps in that conversation. Now, I will say this. Unimind can be abusive on this map. The problem is, how abusive can he be? And that's the argument, is how abusive can he be? And I would argue, if you're playing the standard Lockjaw Unimind, which I would argue at this stage is good, but there's some questions that come to mind. Okay, so this L here is our Lockjaw, here's our Unimind is square. So we're going to get TK'd up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, I'm on the elevation 2 because, again, we're playing more aggressive. So our character is going to end up there. Hypersonic with base value 2, 3, 4 can put you over here. Range 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, I'm doing this off of unmodified. Okay, so I'm gonna put an R there. All right, so with a simple TK and a hypersonic speed, Unimind can shoot from this line here, or row 12. But again, he's limited to elevation 2. There's no way for him to really get and shoot elevation 1. Okay, let me rephrase that. He can, but then it's going to force him into almost like an all-in commit. And there's nothing really early on that's going to force you into an all-in commit like that. And then again, this is without modifiers. All right, so boom. And then it allows you to back up to this row here wherever you like. And that's safe. And that's, again, you're using hypersonic speed and all that other jazz. All right, now, here's our next sort of like layer of problem. And that is this. While Unimind can hit, you know, to actually, I did make a mistake. There we go. All right, delete that. It should be here. And this hindrance square is where he stops his range. And again, unmodified. So here's the sort of the problem. Is once you do that attack or whatever, because again they have to be up on elevation 2, and you do dip back, you know, to somewhere in here. All right, the rest of your force can't really catch up, and that's if you're not if the rest of your force is not colossal retaliations. Okay, so the rest of your force really can't catch up. The other problem that comes in is if your opponent does have anything that allows them to get up and over that ridge real quickly and act a la, you know, Sam Cap, you are not in the best position. Like, you're way closer to your opponent than you would actually want to be. And so that's something to think about. But I do think if you're dealing with slower teams in Unimind Picks map, this is a really good map for Unimind, because again, starting on elevation 2, keep your colossal retaliators, you know, it doesn't matter. And you can put them, if you have like Suitor, you could put Suitor into a forward position-ish if you're concerned about creeping colossals. Definitely when you're dealing with all the giant girls, and I gotta emphasize this. Like, people do not get lazy with Suitor if you're facing giant girl swarm. And I know some of you be like, well, I'm going to wait for the perfect colossal retaliation, and then I'm going to hit, and then I'm going to fire sword, and I'm going to kill 8 giant girls. I'm like, no, man, you're not. That's not how it's going to go. If anybody is smart and they see a Suitor on the field, they're going to be like, well, how am I going to use my perplexes to get this uncommon giant girl into position to get her attack high enough for her to go in and potentially one-shot the Suitor? Okay, that's what they're looking at. I mean, because hell, that's what I'm looking at. Okay, so, and I say that in the sense of been playing around with giant girls and whatnot. Because I know the show should be wrapping up, but having been play testing with various things from the set, like giant girls and a few other characters, I gotta say, I stand by my review. Like, the giants and colossals are fun. They change things up a bit. They make us actually value colossal size. They make us think about where we're going in the game. The downside I see to them, and we even see with this sort of review, is we are now in a place where it's like, okay, how can I exploit colossals? How can I exploit giants? And I think that's a problem. I think that's where things going south are really going to happen. And I'm going to throw this out here now. Mark my words. After US Nats, when the next watch list comes out, you're going to see the following. You're going to see a watch list for Lockjaw. Lockjaw will be on the watch list. You will see Fast Forces Giant Girl on the watch list. And you will see map roll bonus on the watch list. You're going to see all three of those things. Okay? And I know some of you are going to be like, is this the prophetic eye of Edward Shelton? Did you hear from the Lord, boy? And the answer is no. But I played enough. And listening to the community enough. There are serious problems because WizKids can't check themselves before they wreck themselves. I had to throw at least one more in there before the end of the show. And real talk, me sitting back, you know, talking to you, the viewer, getting casual with the convo. When you create game elements that are sub 25 points with keywords, you create distinct problems of balance for this game. And when you have a gimmick that you know is guaranteed to work on your 2 to 3 maps that you've picked, and you have +8, +9, plus without giving anyone's tech away, I would argue this now. You are almost, and I'm saying this very politely, you are almost wasting your time making a theme team in the current era if you cannot at least get +16. And that's the starting point. And that takes a lot of good theme teams off of the market. Completely off of the market. As viable for getting map, viable for competition, viable even for casual. Because when I have game elements that are 1 point up to 20 points, that have keywords, that count towards my map bonus, it's ridiculous. And WizKids should just have a general rule. If either theme team only counts for characters 25 points or more, so like you get all your other game effects, and I'm sorry about the grand party poop of the phone. So you either going to get you'll get your in-game effects saying like, hey, look, you know, I'm an X-Men, you hurt me, so Cyclops is going to come back and pimp slap you with his laser eyes. You know, excuse me, stuff like that. Then yeah, I don't mind that being there. But when you start talking about I'm under 20 points, this counts, does this count towards my map bonus? I would argue no, because the amount of spam, the amount of let me rephrase that, the amount of useful spam is ridiculous. And sort of put it into perspective. There was a point in time where when I looked at the ex-student and the ex-trainee, and I said to myself, wow, these things are cheap. If they were a little bit cheaper, I wouldn't have a problem with them being mowed down. For Cyclops, for me to have 2 Cyclopses and 2 Wolverines just go ape on my opponent and completely wreck them. And at first I thought, like, yeah, that's funny. There's no way that anything that's stronger than an ex-student or ex-trainee would exist. And again, this is not that long ago. This is not that long ago, people. Okay? And I thought, like, if there's anything that's in that 5 to 10 point range, that would be like a Court of Owl type character. Like, just punkishly suck. Okay? But when we got the giant girls, I had to come back and say to myself, oh wow. Oh wow, we have a problem. We have a huge problem. Because for me spending 50 points before, I got a decent character that was probably about 5 clicks deep and had a bunch of support powers or whatnot. But it was easy to kill. Now I have 5 characters that can potentially charge at a 10 attack, 3 damage, 17 defense, close combat reflexes. That's a different party. That is a really, really strong party. And considering that I can have all of my uncommon giant girls just move or attack in a turn, and then like clear off the rest of my guys, and be like, so what if you kill them? They're pushed. They're going to die. The three Fast Forces giant girls in the back are untouched. You can't reach them. You know what's going to happen. And that's the problem I have. And some folks will say, well, like, Edward, that sounds like a Baller Avengers theme team. And I would be like, it would be great if it was limited to Avengers theme teams. But I can play a multitude of stupid. A multitude of stupid. And pull off the same tactic. And that's the problem. That's really the problem. If this was just a boom for Avengers, I would have been, yeah. Like, if you could only do that Colossal Retaliation, if there's no other Colossal Retaliation has been done, if you are on an Avengers theme team, then that does calm it the hell down. Calms it the hell down. It would be better if it was just like, hey, did you Colossal Retaliate with another character? Okay, you did. You can choose once per turn a character, you know, Fast Forces Giant Girl number blah 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 can do this. Unique. That's all you have to do. So you can't like freaking pile drive 15 giant girls into a person's face. And I played it this last weekend with a friend at the locals, and I played a good guy. His name's Pat, and I respect Pat. He's a longtime player of the game, been playing since it almost came out. Pat's one of those guys that has a lot of skill, loves playing creative in different teams, and he's more about the spirit of the game more so than the meta math, which I'm about. And I played Pat, and I'm like, oh, sorry, not Pat. I apologize. It wasn't Pat. It was Wes. It's a different guy. He's cool. Not as good as Pat. Not as cool as Pat. Sorry, Wes. Pat's cooler. But I played a guy named Wes. He's a cool dude. And I Colossal Retaliated him with 3 giant girls in like a sooter in one turn to his 4 Ninja Turtles. And I had to sit back because, like, when you're playing at home, you're like, okay, boop-a-doop-a-doop. And there's certain impacts you don't have. There's certain impacts that you don't have. Like, you don't feel, like, you don't sense the other person in front of you. And you're just like, well, this is how this goes. And when I did it, I sort of had to take a step back, and I was like, oh, you got this entire game. I think he got 8 attacks the entire game. And some people might say, well, that's respectable. I'm like, yeah, that is respectable. But considering that I got the rest of them and wiped his team, and I know I at least in the first salvo got 8 attacks off. There's something that has to be looked at. There really has to be something that's looked at, because I don't see why breaking the Colossal Retaliation rule is necessary. Why was that a thing? And again, WizKids does this. Oh, I'm afraid that we're not going to move this product, so we have to put something broke in it to sell it. Alright, well, that's it for today. Thank you for watching this episode of Topography, of us looking at Halfworld and the Promenade. So you can follow me on Twitter at StartOverPod. It came from outer space and told me there are a race of humans that are able to download their consciousness into clones of their bodies, avoiding death. But really, death had become them. I watched some Altered Carbon, so it's still ringing in the back of my mind. Lots of cool thoughts and other things I have from that, but yeah. Do not recommend that for kids. Not kid-friendly. Don't let your kids watch it. Don't let your kids watch it. Okay. Anyway, so you can email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. If you wish to opine, keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it awesome, baby. Let me know what you think of today's episode. What do you think about my predictions about the watch list and possibly the Banhammer coming down on Fast Force's Giant Girl, Lockjaw, and theme teams? Let me know what you think. And again, I'm for, if I get 5 theme probs, because at 300, then the most I should be able to get to map roll is +5. I feel that that's completely fair. My opponent still has a chance of getting map. I still have a significant chance of getting map, and the game favors me for playing a theme team, but it doesn't completely just reject my opponent because they didn't. I think that that's a good balance. You can donate to the show going over to the blog, startingoverpodcast.blogspot.com. There you can see the graveyard of my writing dreams, and donate to the show as you tip the ferryman going down the river Styx. Every coin goes to making this broadcast a little bit better. And last but not least, if you like to, again, support me directly, you can buy a Starting Over Podcast shirt in the link below on the YouTube page. So I'd like to thank you all very much for listening to this episode and watching this episode of the Starting Over Podcast of Topography, a la Topography, something around English like that. And remember, we all have to start over sometime.